Hi, negotiations class. I just completed grading or reviewing and grading your week one reflection baseline papers and or videos, depending upon the format that you chose. And I see a lot of consistent themes, and frankly, I started to put this in a written form, an email that I would send. And then I thought, you know what, based on what I'm hearing and seeing, I think that this isn't a good place for something that's in writing. Instead, I wanted to do it in video form because I almost feel like right now I'm acting like a sports coach as opposed to an instructor. And that's a fine role. I'm okay with that. But it's just a different delivery. So let me jump in, and please excuse that I'm looking at notes. It's just the only way I can keep it all together. So first thing, there's this theme that we went through this week in the notes about negotiating versus bargaining. And actually, one of our classmates made the reference that they see it as two different things. Well, let me say I agree. To me, negotiation is a far more complex, nuanced process than bargaining, which tends to have generally just an economic goal. And it's two people feeling very much like a win-lose situation. To me, it's akin to distributive negotiation as opposed to integrative. So I wanted to make that designation to you because what I'm seeing is the language interchanged, bargaining and negotiation. And from my perspective, you can't interchange those two words because they mean very different things. Second, almost universally, everybody said that they were not comfortable as negotiators. And you went on to list a bunch of reasons, some of which I'll talk about here in the next couple of minutes. But generally, that's okay. That's why you're in this class. Frankly, I want you to be uncomfortable because it's the best way to motivate yourself to improve. If you think you're really good at that or at this, then you likely won't be as motivated to try to learn new ways. So feeling uncomfortable is absolutely fine. Remember what I said in the beginning of this class. This is a learning lab. It's a safe place. So let's try different things and don't worry about whether or not you're comfortable. There's no one going to judge you here. Third, lots and lots of discussion about power. So here's what I'm going to say about power. We have a whole chapter on power coming up in a later week, so I don't want to do too much on it. But I want to tell you this. You always, 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 one more time, you always have power in a negotiation. You don't always have the same amount of power, but you always have some power. And remember that for someone else to have power over you, you have to give them that power. They can't take it from you. You give it up. Now, you can give it up by failure to act and protect your interests, or you can just readily give it up. But they can't get it unless you give it up to them. So more to come on power. Very interesting comments about people who say, I'm a good negotiator unless I'm presented with information that I didn't anticipate. And then suddenly you get off script and can't do it. Well, my advice to you is learn how to go off script, because rarely does a negotiation stay on script. And if you think you've anticipated every possible contingency, I promise you haven't. And if you're not flexible and agile enough to deal with what's being thrown at you in the heat of a negotiation, then yeah, you will feel less confident. So in the next 7 weeks, I really want for you to come off of script and to allow yourself to be drawn out into areas that you didn't plan for. And then think slowly, take your time, ask for a pause, reflect as you need, and then get on with the negotiation. Assumptions. A lot of you talked about making assumptions about the other individual and how that influenced your negotiation style. Here's what I'll say about assumptions. That's fine. It's one of the ways that the human being is able to digest so much information at one time. However, in negotiation, if you're going to make assumptions, and this goes for mediators as well, then you better doggone test those assumptions and make sure that they're accurate. And the simple tool we have to test is your asking questions. It's curiosity. So don't forget that. Confidence as a block to success. Many of you said that your lack of confidence was what was holding you back. And to that I say bull. there's something else going on. I didn't see anything in any of the papers that I read that indicated to me that you should have a confidence problem. Because all of you were able to cite good examples of your ability to negotiate, and yet at the same time you were telling me that you were not good negotiators. So let's dispense with this confidence issue and dig deeper. There's something else that's driving that discomfort. It is not a confidence issue. Dig deeper and let's talk about it. We as human beings are hardwired to haggle. And several of you said that you were uncomfortable with it, that you didn't like to do it, that you didn't see the need for it, that it felt like it wasn't something natural. Again, let me demystify this. We are all hardwired to haggle. What we do, however, is we allow our brain to override our haggling. And we do that by making justifications and rationalizations for how we avoid things or come up with a less than optimal response in a negotiation. So we're all hardwired for it. You all have the skill set. It's sitting right in you right now. All we have to do is drag it out. Some of you indicated that one of the reasons you don't like to negotiate is because you think it is not being the better person when you negotiate. Some of you said that you will justify a poor outcome if in fact you end up being perceived as a good person or a better person, and or that you are saving a relationship. And to that I also say, bull. If you think you are saving a relationship by allowing someone to bully you into a less than favorable position for yourself, you are in a self-fulfilling cycle here where you'll never get out of it. So do not allow yourself to rationalize a good relationship or being a nice person and juxtapose that against being a negotiator, because you can be a really good person and a really good negotiator at the same time. Okay. Some folks said, well, I like to make concessions as an indication that I'm being nice and that I'm here in good faith. No, please don't do that. Concessions are strategic in nature. You've learned a little bit in week 1. You're going to learn more this week, and you'll learn more over the ensuing 7 weeks about the value of concessions. Don't give them away as an effort to build a relationship. That's a totally separate process. If you give concessions away, you will be seen as a pushover and you will always be on the short end of the negotiation. All of you had good reflections. In fact, all of you had good reflections. In fact, I was really pleasantly surprised by how candid you were with your reflections. And yet, what I would generally see is either in video or in paper, after you would reflect really well, you would then rationalize why that reflection wasn't good. So don't do that to yourself. If you think you have a skill set that needs development and you can cite a specific example, do that. And then don't step in and explain to me why that is or isn't a good thing. Just get it up front, be aware of it so that we can address it. Please, please, please understand about the difference between BATNA, or the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, and your reservation point, or reservation value. 2 totally different things. If you're confused on that, you will find the next 7 weeks to be increasingly difficult and less productive. One of our colleagues said, practice makes perfect. And I don't subscribe to that concept. I subscribe to a very different one that says practice makes permanent. And what I mean is, if you practice the same bad skills time and time again, yeah, they'll be permanent and they'll be wrong. So you'll never improve. You'll never achieve what in our case we would define as artistry or perfection, if you will. So you need to be practicing those skills that will help you to improve. And oftentimes, that means you're going to have to come out of your comfort zone. Lots and lots of discussion about breakdown when you come off of script, and I know I've addressed this already, but one of the things that I need you to understand is that negotiation is all about agility and flexibility. That doesn't mean you don't prepare. You better prepare and be as prepared as you possibly can. But at the same time, you need to recognize that some things will come up that you totally did not anticipate. If you allow that to cause an identity quake, you will not be a successful negotiator. So you've got to shore yourself up, put on that poker face, and if you don't have the answer, ask for some time to research it, ponder it, etc. Change the subject, ask some questions, whatever it is you need to do to gain your composure. But don't allow that to be the first step down that slippery slope towards incompetence in the negotiation setting. MLA style. Even in papers such as this, where it's all about you, if you're referencing some of our readings, which you should do in every paper anyway, please, please, please cite the reference in MLA style. I'm seeing a lot of issues with that, and I'm sorry to be a stickler in one sense, but I'm not in another. If you become professionals and you write anything, there will be a built-in expectation that it is in proper citation format. So learn now. Several of you said, in answer to the question about how do others perceive you as a negotiator, that you don't know how you're perceived. And the comment that I give to all of you is, well, you better find out. So if you do not know, start asking. If you find yourself in a negotiation situation, no matter how insignificant, no matter how everyday it might be, afterwards, ask the person that you were speaking with. Ask them how they feel about you as a negotiator, etc. But be careful in this sense. If you're asking for feedback in terms of reflection, don't ask someone who doesn't understand good negotiation skills. Because again, you're going to be back to the practice makes perfect, but it doesn't, it makes permanent. So if all you're getting is bad information and that's what's giving you motivation to change, but you're changing to bad information, do you get how you're never going to get better? A couple of last points. Very interesting. It appears to me that our entire class, including yours truly, are more aligned on the introvert side of the equation than the extrovert side. And there's probably a whole social science experiment into why we find ourselves in these kind of programs. My quick guess would be if you're extroverted, you tend to have a different flight or fight mechanism. And so for you, or for that person, conflict isn't as gut-wrenching and emotional experience as it is for us introverts. So I'm glad you're here if you're introverted and if you're analytical. But if you're that way, you need to be able to suppress that and to find your inner extrovert so that you can benefit most in a negotiation. Finally, lots of discussion about subject matter expertise, especially as it relates to confidence and competence. And I will tell you that this is one of the biggest subject matter or biggest questions in the whole ADR field. Whether or not we as negotiators and or mediators and or arbitrators need to have special field expertise. Now, I'm not going to disclose my feeling on it because we're going to talk about it later in this class. But what I will say is this. Right now, you're not focused on any subject matter expertise because the type of transactions that you're going to be negotiating are very basic. I'm not looking for whether you know, for example, in an upcoming exercise, real estate values and ad valorem taxes and long-term return on investments or the present value of money. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is that you take the basic facts and that you're able to form a strategy for successful negotiation. So let's take that off of the table, despite the fact that it's a huge question, and we will get to it later in this class. So let me end class. I apologize, we're approaching 15 minutes here. I know this is long. I promise you though, if you listen to it and take my words and really, really force yourself out of your comfort zone over the next 7 weeks, this will be very helpful time spent, and you'll find yourself to be very competent and confident negotiators. Thank you.